The Montgomery County Board of Education claims that they stopped offering opt-outs for this curriculum because they found it administratively unworkable.
Couldn't you solve those differences simply by restoring the opt-out?
Your Honor, I think in this case, the record makes clear that the school district did try to honor the opt-out, and at some point it became infeasible. Certainly there are circumstances where the right decision a school board might make in view of the particular needs of a community is to offer the opt-out. It's a different question from whether it's constitutionally required.
But during Chief Justice Roberts' questioning of Mr. Baxter, administration of the opt-outs didn't seem to be as big a deal as Mr. Schoenfeld would later state.
The school board alleges that the opt-out system became unworkable. Is that a factor we should take into account in deciding whether it could be required?
Certainly, there could be situations where it could be unworkable. The board never raised that until after this litigation commenced. When they announced the withdrawal, they said it was because every student needed to read the inclusivity books. When they produced documents in response to an open records request, there was no mention of it not being workable. When parents met with the superintendents, this is in the Hisham Garti declaration at JA 44. The reason given there was inclusivity. There was no mention of administrability until the litigation's been filed. And even then, all the board was able to come up with was an argument that in one instance, in one school, there were dozens of students who opted out, where if the average school size in Montgomery County is 700 students across at least a dozen classrooms, you're talking maybe one student per classroom. That hardly compares with the 1 in 8 students who are opted out for individual education programs. 15% of students in Montgomery County who are taking English for speakers of a second language. The board's own opt-outs that are required from the same instruction required by state law to be opted out when the same books are read in health class.
If the administration of these opt-outs was so onerous, why was it not mentioned when their cancellation was announced, in the documents produced, or even when meeting with the parents? Could it be that there's more to this administrative problem than meets the eye? Now, Justice Thomas dug into this a little deeper.
I think chatting with Justice Kavanaugh, you mentioned that the opt-out was unworkable because there were so many students who opted out. What do you mean by that?
So the record is limited on this point, but the Hazel Declaration talks about the fact that principals reported to the school board that there was high absenteeism and gave the example of one school where dozens of students were opting out.
Again, the problem the board saw that led them to cancel these opt-outs is the number of students opting out, which I think points us to another question. Why are there so many opt-outs of this curriculum? Could it be that this curriculum is so offensive to so many people that the only way for the board to teach this nonsense was for them to force it down the students' throats? That is not teaching respect and kindness for others, but totalitarian conformity to the government's views.